to winning isn't easy. Is back pain caused by lumbar radiculopathy a somatic disorder that would justify a disability carrier's termination of long-term disability benefits? Now, I have had lumbar radiculopathy, and if my surgeon had not removed the fragments of the herniated disc, I probably would have killed myself. The pain was intense. It was like taking a match and putting the match underneath your finger, if you will. It's incredibly painful. So I know how painful this condition is, but disability carriers don't always appreciate the pain, and they don't appreciate the psychological problems that can be associated with radicular pain. And what they will do sometimes, depending on the terms of the policy, is to try to use policy limitations, such as subjective medical condition limitations, or they will try to apply the mental nervous policy limitations to a claim saying that the person's benefits are limited to just 2 years because the unrelenting pain is either a subjective condition or that you have depression or other psychological issues caused by this radiculopathy, which is contributing to your disability, and therefore benefits are limited to just 2 years. I know this sounds crazy, but let me give you an example of what Prudential did in a case. This is the case of Cherry versus Prudential Insurance Company. And Cherry was a former Microsoft software engineer in the state of Washington. He became disabled as a result of chronic and unremitting lumbar radiculopathy. Now, he was part of an elite team who worked on new Microsoft products. He was required to sit while working on coding issues. And as part of this highly functioning team, he had to solve problems really quickly so that the rest of the team could perform their work. It was sort of like a conveyor belt, and something breaks down, nothing is happening, and you got to fix that problem on a conveyor belt. This was just with coding, if you will. Now, he was on call every 6 weeks, and he would have to report immediately and then would regularly work 50 to 60 hours a week. He developed back problems, as you can imagine, and he underwent spine surgery, which was not successful. Even after surgery, he had this lumbar radiculopathy, this burning pain down his leg. And as I said, it feels like a burning match that you can't put out. You can't sit, you can't stand, you can't find a comfortable position. So he filed a disability insurance claim, and that was accepted on the basis of his back condition. And during the own occupation period of his benefits, Prudential had him undergo a physical exam and a psychiatric exam. Interesting. Now, what, of course, the liar for hire psychiatrist for Prudential said was that Cherry had a moderate somatic system disorder based on excessive thoughts, feelings, behaviors, which result in a significant disruption of his daily life and interfered with his ability to complete tasks at home and work. Now, the diagnosis of a somatic system disorder does not discount the extent to which there may be a medical basis for the symptoms. And in many cases, it isn't even possible to demonstrate that the subjective symptoms are inconsistent with the medical abnormalities. In other words, this guy had a back condition for which he underwent surgery, and he had that burning lumbar radiculopathy as documented by physical exam findings and objective findings on diagnostic studies. Now, the psychiatric test results were really consistent with somebody who suffers from chronic pain. And this sounds like a perfect setup for a claim termination if there is a 2-year mental nervous condition limitation in the policy. Well, guess what? It was a setup. In the Microsoft disability plan, when the disability changed from an inability to perform his own occupation to any occupation, Prudential took the position that the mental nervous policy limitation applied since he had a somatic system disorder, and that the only way it would continue to pay benefits is if Cherry was physically disabled. Now, every one of his physicians said he was unable to work. He even had a functional capacity evaluation test that documented he couldn't even work part-time. And that was not good enough for Prudential. They took the position based on their doctor's physical exam findings that he could work in a part-time capacity and eventually work in a full-time capacity. They said that his physical limitations were all psychiatrically based. Talk about making up reasons to justify a claims denial. So you can imagine that this case ended up in federal court. In the state of Washington, they banned discretionary clauses. These call judges from using their own independent judgment in reviewing a disability claim. It's called arbitrary and capricious, and you have to prove that the decision to deny benefits was arbitrary and capricious. And creating reasons for a denial is not necessarily arbitrary and capricious, as crazy as that may sound. But in this particular case, the judge was having none of it. The judge was able to independently review the entire medical evidence, including that functional capacity evaluation. And the judge rejected the argument that Cherry's condition was caused by a somatic disorder and that he could increase his hours. The judge said, oh, wait a second. These symptoms are consistent with a person who has chronic pain, and the diagnosis doesn't discount the medical basis of his symptoms. And the record does not show that Cherry's disability was due in whole or even part due to mental illness. So the federal judge said, too bad, so sad, Prudential. We don't believe that this is, he doesn't believe that this is a legitimate basis for the denial, and order them to pay the benefits. This is a great result, but this sad story explains how disability carriers, like Prudential, will create reasons to deny a claim when there's a change in definition. And obviously, you want to be aware of these kinds of policy terms in your disability policy or plan. Got it? Let's take a break.
Professional with questions about your individual disability policy? You need the Disability Insurance Claim Survival Guide for Professionals. This book gives you a comprehensive understanding of your disability policy, with tips and to-dos that will assist you in submitting a winning disability application. This is one you don't want to miss. For the next 24 hours, we're giving away free copies of the Disability Insurance Claim Survival Guide for Professionals. Order yours today at disabilityclaimsforprofessionals.com.